2014 budget.
Owen? Here. Lays? Lee?
Here.
Childers?
Here.
Heller? Sullivan?
Here.
McGrath?
Here. Okay, the public hearing is on the 2013-2014 Maine Township High School District 207 and North Suburban Educational Region for Vocational Education and Serve budgets. Mary, legal notices on this were?
Legal notices were published in the paper within the 30-day limitation guideline, and also the tentative budgets went on display July 1st at both the administration center, the building, and the public libraries.
Okay. This time, are there any citizen comments on the tentative budgets?
Make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Maine Township High School District 207 Board. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Judy, roll call, please.
Owen? Here. Lee?
Here.
Childers? Here. Heller? Sullivan?
Here.
Lays? McGrath?
Here. Okay, do you have any cards for public comments? No, okay, no public comments. Schuler Scholar update.
We have
Joanne Birch
Okay,
and Carly Vance.
good, great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne Birch, and I'm the school director for the Schuler Scholar Program at Maine East High School. Tonight, we're going to present to you what the latest updates are on our programming at Maine East. I understand we have 2 new board members, and for your purposes, we are a nonprofit organization that partnered with Maine East High School about 4 years ago, and our mission is to help high potential students gain access to highly selective private colleges. So we'd like to go through our presentation and show you some of the work that we've been doing at Maine East and the outcomes of it. Okay? Carly Vance is our educational counselor, and she's going to also walk through a bit of the programming that we've been doing. So we'll begin. Everyone should have a copy of the presentation. If not, please let me know and we'll get you a copy. The Schuler Scholar Program has about 398 students in high schools, in the high schools to date. We have about 259 in college, 120 college graduates, giving us a total of 777 Schuler Scholars and alum. We are in 9 high schools across Illinois, with our most recent partnerships with Collins Academy in Chicago and Ralph Ellison in Chicago as well. Our demographics, you'll see the list of our demographics. We break it down by male and female, African American, Black, Hispanic, Asian, Caucasian, and as you can see, the Maine East numbers are about what we would expect based on the demographics here in Park Ridge and the kids that are feeding into Maine East High School. Our financial support from the Schuler Scholar Program in high school, our commitment is about $8,900 per student per year, which comes out to be about $35,600. To date, Schuler has provided about $507,000 in the 3.5 years that we've been at Maine East High School. So that's about what our expenditures have been from the time that we've partnered till today. And I'm skipping some of this. Please stop me if you feel like there's more that you want to review. our scholar selection. So we've invited, for Maine East, we invited about 136 families. We have Sikh students from Gemini, the primary theater school, Maine West, I'm sorry, not Maine West, I'm looking at Audrey there, at Emerson, wishful thinking. I know, right? We planted that seed earlier. So Emerson and Chippewa and some other schools. And the kids that are living in the optional areas are the kids that we're seeking. We also look at kids that meet the academic criteria of the program. So this year we invited about 136 students. We had 70 families attend our family night event, which is their invitation to apply to the program. We had 51 apply. We interviewed 26. We accepted 21. So those numbers are pretty good, considering that last year we had about 180 families that we invited, and we had about 36 that came to family night. So the word is spreading. The word is spreading. To give you a glance of our programming, I think most of you have seen this chart for the new members. In 8th grade, we select the students through an application process. This summer, I just got back from camp, and the kids are still up there at Camp Manitowish. They go through a leadership camp program for 10 days. 5 days in camp, 3 days on trail, and then they're back home. Freshman year, we begin with a transitions to high school. They do a math program during the summer to ensure that they're ready to take Algebra 2 or higher math in high school to prepare for that. As you can see, we have programming all through freshman year. We have a rigorous reading program that's one-on-one reading with our scholar coaches that are based in the high school. We go through successful student programming, writing programming, homework help, tutoring, whatever support the kids need throughout high school to ensure their success in the classes. And so in your presentation, you'll see what we're doing during the summer after freshman year, then during sophomore year, our programming and how it's laid out, and that's from day 1 when school starts until the end of the school year, and then programming that goes on during the summer. In addition to the programming that happens in school, we have cultural exposures. So we will take kids to the opera, to plays. Essentially, we feel that the classroom and the school is not the only place that you can learn. You can learn on the outside as well. And having those type of experiences really does help us develop a student, develop the student as a whole.
Does cultural programs happen during the school days or even in weekends too? Or
Weekends and after school, or times that the school is out. We usually take advantage of those times to take the kids off to a cultural exposure.
So renting a charter bus is all inclusive in it?
Yep, exactly. So Carly's going to talk to you just a little bit more about the actual programming and some of the highlights of the programming to help develop the kids throughout the year.
Great, thanks. So ALEX is a math program that goes on online, and it both assesses and allows us to help students remediate math skills. So we assess our scholars at the beginning of the summer in a foundational course, and then they remediate independently online throughout the summer with the goal of helping them be more prepared to go into their higher level math classes and eventually be even more prepared for the math section on the ACT. So there's a little bit of data about how our scholars have grown through the ALEX program last year. So if you find Maine East on that chart, our 2016 scholars initially assessed at 71% mastery of middle school math when they came in at the beginning of the summer. They remediated independently, and by the end of the summer they were at about 88% mastery of that material. If you scroll down, Maine East, the class of 2015, those are our rising juniors this year. They, at the beginning of last summer, were assessed in Algebra 1. Their average score was around 78% mastery of Algebra 1. They remediated over the summer, and again, similar to the class of 2016, ended at about 88% mastery of that material. They also do that as rising juniors. They assess in Algebra 2 so that they're extra prepared for the ACT math portion. Another tool that we use is the Nelson-Denny, which is a reading assessment. It assesses both comprehension and vocabulary. We assess our freshmen and our sophomore scholars at the beginning and the end of each school year to help us understand how they're growing as readers. And so you can see our rising juniors, that's the class of 2015, they began last year in the 88th percentile nationally for comprehension, but rose to the 91st percentile nationally by the end of the year. Vocabulary, they started off the year at the 83rd percentile, they rose to the 87th percentile nationally by the end of the year. Even more impressive are our rising sophomores who started the year in the 76th percentile of comprehension and jumped 10 percentile points over the year in comprehension and vocabulary. So we're really excited about the growth that our rising sophomores have shown as well. Some information about our attrition in the last school year. You can see for Maine East, we started last year with 57 scholars. We ended with 44 scholars, that's 23% attrition. To break that down a little bit, 15% attrition is due to releases. That means that the scholars did not meet the expectations of the program in some way and were released. 8% of that attrition is due to opt-outs. That is when a scholar decides, this isn't for me anymore, my goals are different than that of the Schuler program. For example, a scholar may decide that they don't want to go to college away from home, or they may decide that the work that we're asking of them is too challenging. So those are some of the reasons that a scholar may choose to opt out. So if you take out the opt-outs, our attrition rate is 15 from released scholars, 15%, which is very much in line with the average at many of our other partner schools. Here we see our ACT test results. This is the first year we get to share this information because it was our first year that we had juniors at Maine East, which is very exciting. So our juniors, they started the year with an average pre-score of 23.6. They went through an ACT prep class with the Schuler program, and then their actual average score was 29.8, which is an over 6-point jump. We're really excited about the work they put in and the growth that they've shown in those scores. Yes.
What do they get for doing this? They go up 6 points, which is a tremendous boost from pre to an actual test. Just the glory of knowing they did it? They pizza parties?
Well, that's definitely part of it, right?
Yeah.
But I think this next slide is actually going to help answer some of that question about the types of schools that we are working with in terms of most competitive, highly competitive, very competitive, and competitive, and how they're looked upon by these colleges. So someone who might have had a lower score might be looking at a very competitive group of schools or highly competitive, and that could really make a difference for them as to the schools that they're attracted, attracted to them.
Right. And all through junior year, they're meeting with their Schuler College counselor, and so they are very much aware of the profile of student that gets admitted to some of the schools that they want to apply to and where their profile sits. They're very aware of what the colleges they may want to be admitted into expects of an applicant, and I think that's a very strong motivator for them. So here's some information about how the Schuler program looks at college selectivity. The top part of the screen shows ratings according to Barron's guide. Barron's rates in 4 categories, from most competitive, highly competitive, very competitive, down to competitive. This year, 79% of our scholars will be attending schools that are considered by Barron's to be most competitive. If you go to the bottom part of the slide, that is information according to the Princeton Review. They rate things a little differently. Their rating scale goes from 60 to 99, and according to that scale, the average selectivity of a Schuler college or a college that a Schuler scholar would attend is 96 this year, which you see has risen from past years. On the top right, you'll see some information about the average financial aid packages that are awarded by colleges and universities. Yes, I just have you.
On the college matriculation data this year with 79%, et cetera, that adds up to 99%.
Yes,
Correct.
yes. I think
Right,
actually
so-
100, yeah.
So do all of the Schuler scholars go to a minimum of competitive up to most competitive?
Correct.
So they don't go to anything that isn't considered competitive?
Correct.
That is correct.
The program is geared specifically for that.
Well,
That's one
So
of the
virtually
tenets.
all of them?
Yes.
Yes.
And the majority go to the top 2
Yes.
tiers?
Correct.
So on this slide on the right, On the portion on the right, you can see the average financial aid packages that are awarded by the selected colleges and universities to a Schuler Scholar. This is not money that comes from Schuler, this is college financial aid packages. This year, the average award was over $50,000 per year per student, which has gone up since years past. I think that speaks to the qualifications that our scholars gain through the years of the program, to their transcripts, to their test scores, and to
The strength of the curriculum at Maine
Absolutely.
East, the preparation that we do, a combination of all those things to prepare the kids and to be looked at favorably by the schools. And they're showing that by the amount of funding that they're providing the students.
And then down at the bottom, there's a little information about what kind of applications our scholars submit. You may notice that quite a few of our scholars choose to submit ED or Early Decision 1 applications. That is because we have found that for our scholars and for the schools, the types of schools that they're applying to, it is to their advantage to apply early decision. They have better results if they do so. And this is a list of the scholars to which the class of 2013 is matriculating. This is not an exhaustive list of every college that any Schuler Scholar has ever gone to. This is just for the class of 2013. So we'd like to take a couple minutes to highlight some of the achievements of some of our scholars this year. So John Calantes, who's in the class of 2014, is spending the summer in Costa Rica through the Brown program studying biology, conservation, and sustainability. Patrick Zajac, also in the class of 2014, received a full ride scholarship to study microeconomics at Colorado College this summer. Judy Glickberg, also from that rising senior class, will be studying neuroscience at Emory University this summer. Also, Syed Mateen is studying international politics and economics at Boston University this summer. 7 scholars in the class of 2014 and the class of 2015 attended mega exposures, which are trips where we have our scholars engage in some sort of service or learning opportunity in places like New York City, New Orleans, Stratford, Ontario, to learn about feminism, perform community service, and attend a theater festival, respectively. Several scholars from the class of 2014 and 2015 were instrumental in forming the Rotary Interact Club at Maine East this year. 20 scholars in the class of 2015 are attending a summer college program at selective colleges across the country this year. 16 scholars in the class of 2017 have actually completed a summer Algebra 2 prep course with Mr. Olson. 13 of our scholars in the class of 2016 and 2017 attended a summer GeoTrig prep class to prepare them for the geometry or GeoTrig Excel courses. 5 of the scholars in the class of 2016 participated in a summer writing program taught by Writers Theater of Glencoe. And lastly, Alyssa Kawalai, who is a rising sophomore, was accepted into the Competitive Open Lands program run by the Center of Conservation Leadership and participated in a 3-week trip to northern Wisconsin and Michigan to conduct field research. She loved it, came back, learned a lot of bug bites.
I think it's important to note that, to the board, that we cannot be successful without the partnership of Maine East and the administrators there. So it's very important that we highlight some of the people that have helped us throughout this past year. Linda Rutschke, definitely a huge help to us, and the scholars, helping us understand scholar data and how some of the new assessments, what information is coming in and how we might be able to share information across the table. She was instrumental in getting our students that were taking the Algebra 2 course the Chromebooks that are going to be used this year so that we can try to help work the bugs out of it a little bit, and it seemed like it worked out really, really well. Dana Stearns is a guidance counselor and the college counselor at Maine East, who's been amazing with us, working with the scholars, ensuring that they're getting the classes that they need, and ensuring that the kids are getting from her what they need as far as graduation requirements and guidance throughout the entire school. And then Dr. Pressler, he has been very supportive of the program, the initiatives, and most importantly, the scholars. He's encouraged our team to work with Dana and share the information that we have from our college counselor to Dana and back from Dana to our college counselor to collaborate our efforts. So when we've had several of the schools come and visit the Schuler Scholars, we wanted to ensure that if there were other students that we felt met the criteria, the academic criteria, that they knew that these schools were going to be visiting, even if they weren't Schuler. So we were helping to spread that word. And she actually shared with some of the AP teachers essentially a profile of the type of student that would be that these schools would be looking for. So we opened that up and we collaborated, and I think it's working really well. But that was at the request of Dr. Pressler to ensure that we're sharing our information. We continue to have success with Aspen and having access to that just to look and see how the scholars are doing. That's important to be able to track them. The I-team and maintenance team have been so helpful, very supportive, no issues there. We are the model school. When you look at our 9 schools, we look at Maine East as the school as the model school. So we wanted to just share with you some of the successes that are going on over at Maine East and to thank the board and Dr. Pressler for all of the support to the scholars and to our team. So thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Just quick
Thank
question.
you. I first was acquainted with the Schuler Foundation about 5 years ago when you came to Maine East. And frankly, I was impressed then, and I'm even more so now. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for offering our kids an opportunity of a lifetime. And they remind you that we have a new school.
I feel like
Remind
this is
you all the
deja
time.
Yeah.
So basically, all the fundings are coming from where? Who's service?
It's funded by a private family. Jack Schuler and his family live up in Lake Bluff, and there was a moment where he's very successful and talked to his family, and they said, we want to help the kids in our own backyard. So we partnered with Waukegan High School, and from there it just kind of ended up here.
Then is any of, as a parents, are we responsible for that partially or anything like that?
No, the only responsibility that the parents have is to have their support of the students and to ensure that they're getting what they need at home in order to be successful and to meet these goals that they set forth. So there are no monetary commitments from a parent whatsoever.
So Maine East is that a pilot program, or how long has it been?
We've been there we're going into our 4th school year. So no, not a pilot program at all. We're up and running.
And it keeps getting better.
And it keeps getting better, yes, yes. Mhm.
Thank you guys very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
And do you have any updates for the board?
There were a couple of updates. I'm going to turn to Greg first. Because of the change in testing window, we're probably going to see an amendment for the calendar. I'll let Greg explain that very quickly.
Yeah, I just wanted to give the board a heads up, because the state traditionally allowed schools a certain window, a few-week time frame in September to do explore, plan, maybe some pre-ACT testing in which we would get financial reimbursement from the state as long as we conducted these tests during that window. Last year, for the first time, for some strange reason, they pushed the window back to November. And therefore, we had to give the tests in November if we were going to get the financial reimbursement from the state. And we have revised our calendars, our school calendar, to reflect that. Well, after our school calendar has been approved by the board, of course, the state got enough feedback from school districts across the state saying, why are we giving these tests in November when 1/4 of the school year has surpassed, when this is supposed to be initial, pre-test data, baseline data. So they informed us late that they're going to move the window back. So our calendar that was approved has November 7th as a half day for testing. And traditionally, we've always had that half day of testing the day after Meet the Teacher open house night. So I want to just inform the board that we'd like to seek a revision to that calendar at the next board meeting
such that September 19th will be a half day of testing, and then November 7th will then be a full day. We will make sure we communicate this to the parents through principals' newsletters, through our robocall, automatic phone system, as well as on our website and other avenues. But we feel it's important that we get this baseline data early in the school year as possible, versus after the students have already received a quarter of the school year of instruction from our teachers.
Okay, so that's one item to give you a heads up on. We'll have more information as we go through that process. The second item is in response to a law just signed by Governor Quinn called Rocky's Law. It requires school districts to pick up some liability, kind of catastrophic liability insurance for students who participate in athletics, and I'll let Mary speak to that very briefly.
Yeah. The law was passed on Friday. It goes into effect January 1st. It provides coverage for catastrophic injuries, meaning greater than $50,000. So Scrip, our insurance pool, is currently shopping to provide who's going to be out there in the insurance market to provide that coverage and to get quotes for that coverage. But it will run us between, my guess is between $50,000 and $100,000 a year.
I think it'd be well worth it considering what happened to that young man 10 years ago at Eisenhower. He was totally physically destroyed, and he subsequently passed away.
Yeah, we don't have a choice on this.
It's fine.
Well, the question, isn't it private insurances generally covers even the school, in school or out of school?
Well, most people's private insurance, and even if it does, there's generally a cap. The very rare, thankfully, types of injuries are those catastrophic where we're talking, long-term, lifelong care even for individuals. And I think that's the case that Donna's referring to
Ras was
is a
in
case
a
like that.
football game, and I don't know if it was his spinal cord or something, he was absolutely bedridden and had to be totally cared for, bedridden. And the expenses to the family were amazing. So this would cover some of that.
Or the existing school insurance?
We have existing insurance. This is setting new
And
thresholds.
this is setting, because the standard that we currently have is the accident has to be based on willful and wanton negligence of the school district. So if we are willfully and wantonly negligent, then we are required to provide the insurance on that. That is a very high standard. This is just any accident. So if a student, if a student accidentally, it's not based on any kind of negligence. It's just first dollar catastrophic coverage for now.
But previously, so school did not cover such?
Correct.
Correct. So with this new governor's law, so now they're able to cover this intensive extreme cases. If that's the call, who actually will be responsible financially? Where's the money is coming from? Is
For the
it
premiums, the district.
We
We-
that's because we were $100,000. You're gonna be fine.
unfunded mandate?
Yeah.
So the government asking schools to be responsible for
That's
such?
right.
Yeah.
And the parents, I guess,
In some cases, the parents.
This is an annual thing in public education. It's not that this isn't a worthwhile and important issue, but it's a list of.
so financially, what percent, how much are we talking about basically? Because it leads to probably the increase of property taxes and all other things too. Is it,
$50,000 to $100,000 is what you said, so.
It's a very minuscule
Very
amount
small.
on the scope of our budget, but it
Compared
is
to what could happen to
it is
a
an
family.
increase.
But 100,000 here, 100,000 there,
Yeah.
pretty
It was
soon you're talking
just,
real money. Yeah.
I think you get a B for that.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last item, I know Barbara's going to be looking for an education committee, perhaps on the 19th, if we can get the education committee together. There's a few items that we want to discuss prior to the start of school.
August 19th work?
What day of the week?
It's a
is that?
Monday.
That's a Monday, it's 2 weeks from today.
What time?
What's good for you? 3 o'clock? 1 o'clock? 8 o'clock?
Yeah, any daytime is
afternoon?
okay. Daytime is great. Afternoons are better.
Okay.
I don't know if Mary's,
Anytime, fine.
okay,
3 o'clock would be fine.
Okay.
okay.
There's a finance meeting set for the 8th.
Thursday, yes.
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 What time is
At
it?
what time?
Is it 5:30?
Okay.
5:30.
Yeah, I'll be in a North Fork. Actually, I'll be in Mount Calvert.
Okay, any other updates?
I'm sorry, did you say 3 o'clock, Barbara? 3 o'clock on the 19th?
Finance is 5:30.
Yeah, finance is 5:30. Monday the 19th, 3 o'clock.
I'll send you a calendar invite, that'd be helpful.
Next on the agenda is the Education Committee meeting that was held on July 22nd.
I think I'll turn this one over to our others.
Under instructional services, you're going to hear a synopsis of what we talked about there related to our draft vision of the instructional plan. But there were 2 other topics that we talked about as well. One of them concerns probably a topic we'll dig more into on August 19th, which is about our policies related to seeking alternative credit and some of the opportunities that we may have there. And I know Ken is going to be interested to join that discussion. And then we also had a brief report from Pam about some of the support programs that she's developing to support inclusive practices and co-teaching, et cetera.
Okay, so we'll look for that later. Next up is monthly status of finances. Mary.
In your board packet is the June financial statement on a cash basis, and I say on a cash basis because don't forget, that in the summer we converted to a full accrual basis, so these numbers will slightly change. On the revenue side, we performed at 98, we collected 102% of revenue, so we had a variance of 2%. And on the expenditure side, we expended 98% of the budgeted funds, so we were within 2%. However, combine those two, and it looks like on a tentative basis that our surplus this year could be about $8 million. But I think it's just because a 2% variance on the budget our size produces a rather large number. We will, I expect that surplus will go down slightly because, for instance, in the transportation fund, there are 5 quarterly payments. One of those will get reversed out during the accrual process because the state is a little off on their timing. For some reason, they chose to pay that one this year. I will entertain any questions that anybody has on the June financials.
Okay, any questions? Instructional services. Barb.
Yes, so tonight we're going to take a few minutes to talk about something we dug into at the Education Committee meeting, and that is a draft vision for instructional improvement that we are actually going to be sharing with our faculty on opening day. I want to start by reminding this board that the term reflective practices is something that we talk about a lot. We've talked about it with our teachers as they've been starting a journey of professional growth against the Danielson framework. And we certainly talk about it from a district perspective too when we look at our initiatives and our programs. And when you're a reflective practitioner, it means that you are visioning, you are seeing clearly, hopefully. And that clear kind of vision for an organization probably involves looking back at what your needs have been and the initiatives that you brought to the fore and whether some have worked or not. It involves looking at what you're currently doing and the current needs and what is working and not, and also having a clear vision of what's to come. Now, in this district, we have not been short on the visions, in fact, or on the initiatives. We have so many things going on at times that some people will talk about the need for us to be able to articulate how it all hangs together. How do these puzzle pieces form a picture? Do they interlock? Do they relate to each other? And if so, what is the picture of where we're going? So when I talk about these myriad initiatives that we have, I've listed them on the handout that you have in front of you and also on the PowerPoint. There's probably at least 30 plus different kinds of initiatives that we recognize this summer are going on, are in various stages of implementation, or have been going on for a number of years. And not all of them did we, at the beginning of the summer, necessarily all of us have a clear understanding of what they were and their research base, whether they were effective or not, or what kind of priority they should have for us in terms of resource allocation. So one of the things that's been happening in the district as of late is a lot of the leadership and a lot of teachers, including some of the teacher leaders, have been reading a book together called Unmistakable Impact by Jim Knight. And if the board members would like a copy of that, we do have some extra ones. I think some of the committee members may have taken one. But what he talks about in there is that it's really important for a district that's about teaching and learning for students, which is what we're about, to have a clear instructional plan, something that could be expressed on a page or two, perhaps, something that is clear, that's simple, that's doable, and that no matter who you ask in the school district, they can be able to articulate it. He also talks about it's important to align with whatever is your framework for teacher evaluation, in our case, the Danielson framework, so that you can kind of take a read on how your instruction is going. So in June, we gathered together 12 month administrators for a one-day retreat. And we went off-site just to take a day, take a breath, and to really do some reflective thinking and visioning. We first started with looking at each of these 30 plus initiatives, and each one was presented by a different administrator. We looked at them through different lenses, evaluated whether they had a research base, what was their impact on student learning, were they short-term, long-term initiatives, did we have any proof they were working, how much did they cost in terms of time, energy, FTE, and try to understand what our priorities were for all of these. We had a facilitator with us who helped us then go through an afternoon discussion and ranking process so that we could kind of see where our priorities were in terms of these 30 initiatives. And out of that day came kind of a loosely ranked list to show what rose to the top of the list and perhaps what was of less important at the bottom of the list, maybe less understood. After that day, a subgroup of us decided to get together at the behest of the whole group and try to find how all these initiatives related together. Was there a clear vision that we could eke out of this, that they all seem to be speaking towards? And we drafted a piece that we have, that I'm going to share with you tonight, that we've already shared with the Education Committee, and that we hope to bring before our faculty on the opening day so that we're all very clear about where we're going and what needs to be in alignment with this vision. Following that faculty meeting in mid-September, we are going to be bringing in Jim Knight, who is going to be working with our DLC and our instructional coaches and our department instructional coaches to help us learn some skills that are going to help us provide the support necessary to carry off this vision. So, the first piece of this is kind of the broad stroke of it, the general picture of it. We decided after looking at all of these initiatives that really there were 4 things that they clustered around. And it starts with what's at the top of this sort of triangular triad. We have made the commitment, you know, in this district to be professional, learning, community-based. Whether we think of ourselves as a whole district, as a PLC, or building-based, or the PLT teams within that, what that means for us is that we gather together, we have inquiring minds around student work, we look at data, and we ask what's working and what's not, and what are we going to do about it. And that is a really important attribute of our district and how we work together to try to improve instruction and student learning. Along with that, the PLC makes decisions about what kinds of research-based, high-impact instruction they are going to use to ensure that learning occurs for all students. We start with thinking about all students, and whether those initiatives are things like cooperative learning, or questioning strategies, or some social emotional learning initiative, we are looking to implement with fidelity and quality. But we know that probably that's not going to be enough for all students. So as we looked at some of the initiatives that were on our long list, we realized that some of them were for targeting the needs of certain groups of students, whether that be some of the co-teaching initiatives or inclusive practices or some of the other pockets of need that we have identified. And in that case then, we're getting to the third point of the triangle, which is about response to intervention for some. Now, at the heart of all of this is an initiative you've heard us talk about, which is assessment literacy, in which we're involved in looking at setting clear targets for students and purpose for learning, and having them learn how to monitor their own learning, as we do too, and communicate clearly back and forth, and with parents as well, towards the goal of what they need to accomplish. As we looked at this and hashed it through several discussions, we felt that our initiatives align with it. And you can see on this next diagram, we have it in the handout, where we've placed the 30+ initiatives. Professional learning communities deal with Common Core content standards, they deal with those standards-based grading practices, formative and summative assessments, so on and so forth. And you can read in each square there where the different initiatives fall, the high-impact instruction initiatives, the RTI initiatives, etc. There really was not an initiative that we couldn't find a home for, so that kind of made us feel like the model works. Then we moved to looking at the alignment to our Danielson framework. We've invested a lot of time and energy in what was a state mandate, but also was good leverage for us in improving teacher practice. And again here, in every aspect of the model, we found a home for the alignment to aspects of the Danielson framework. And then finally, what is probably one of the more important slides is, if this is an important vision that we're going after, then we are accountable as a district to support that vision. And how have we done that? So we took a look at the fact that, okay, for professional learning communities, you'll remember a couple of years ago, this board approved our every Wednesday morning collaborative time. We have supported those PLC processes with resources to get them up to speed on how to operate as a PLC. We've sent them to conferences, we've brought in workshop leaders, we've gotten people trained. We're working on the assessment design. Certainly our Google Apps collaborative tools support helps those communities share documents, share data, communicate out together. And similarly, in all of the other boxes too, there have been things that this district, this board has done to support this work, to support this vision. Most recently, the doubling of the instructional coaches and redefining the department instructional coach has provided some manpower to support the implementation of those high-impact instructional initiatives. So, on opening day, we are going to take some time, not to bring in a high-cost and inspiring speaker, but to hear in the voices of our teachers and our retirees and our leaders where we are on this vision and where we're going, and hopefully be inspired by very good work that we've done thus far and find renewed energy in going forward. So that, in a nutshell, is focus and instructional plan.
Barb. Next item, monthly update on FOIA requests, Tim?
For this month, either processed or in the process of being processed, and the details are in your board packet.
Consent agenda. There's a motion on the consent agenda. Anybody like to pull anything off? Donna moved.
Second.
Second, Mary. Comments, questions? Okay, Jenny, can you pull the roll?
Lee,
Aye.
Owen, aye. Sullivan,
I'll put on eight. Sorry.
Childers, aye. Peller, McGrath.
Aye. Item 7, intergovernmental agreement, North Cook Intermediate Service, number 10.
This is for the students that we send to North Cook. Just as some perspective, when Mary and I started here together the first year, they normally bill us for 50 seats. This year, for the 2013-14 year, I think we're going to bill for about 17 seats. So we've reduced our annual billing at North Cook, 33 some odd seats.
Will we use all those seats?
Yes, we will use all those seats, and we've tried to be very conservative and underpay up front. There's a little bit of an upcharge if we get to the 18th or the 19th student, but based on our calculations, that's the number that we feel is right.
Okay, any questions, comments? Hearing none? Jenny?
So moved.
Second.
Lee,
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Owen, aye. Peller,
Aye.
Sullivan, McGrath.
Aye. Okay, item 8, the District 207 budget. A motion, please.
I'll move the insert budget for 2013-2014.
Done, second. Mary?
The unserviced joint agreement that we are the administrative agent for, the law requires that budgets for joint agreements are approved by the last day in August, which is why we do unserved in August and 207 in September.
Any questions, comments on the budget? Hearing none?
Childers, aye. Lee,
Aye.
Owen, aye. Peller, Sullivan,
Aye.
McGrath.
Item 9, item 9, resolution to approve ratings rubrics for special positions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Sullivan? Owen? Barb?
This is one of the last ones that we're going to be bringing before you. Last month, we had a couple of other rubrics for specialist positions to review for the Certified Teaching Evaluation Program. This is for the school psych position. To remind you, it has been a document looked at by the school psychs, by administrators related to that group, by the teacher and task force, and Pam as well has championed a lot of it, really helping to shift some of the language to shift our school sites to be more part of the problem-solving process, which is a good move. The document that you have in your book is only slightly different from the one in front of you. She's made a few editing, corrections, commas, some wording, but the essence of the content is the same. So the one in front of you is the exact version that will go online. We have one more rubric to bring before you that is for assistive tech. We hope to bring that before you in early September. It affects one person, and we're doing a little bit more research to make sure it's a document that really fits how she functions in the district.
Are there any questions? Comments? Hearing none?
Sullivan,
Aye.
Owen, aye. Lee,
Aye.
Childers,
Aye.
Peller, McGrath.
Aye. Item 10, approval of bids and awarding of contracts. Before I have a motion, is there any desire to pull any one of these contracts out individually? Motion
I'll
on
move 10 A, B, C, D.
Second.
Sullivan, Heller, Mary, and Pam. Talk about these contracts just a little bit.
The Archon maintenance service contract is for a specific contracted employee who performs project management and oversight in terms of our major mechanical and electrical systems. I believe that the cost of the contract is well worth it based on what he saves the district annually.
And is the change in the dollar?
It's based on a CPI increase, so 1.7% increase.
And are they from where?
Archon, who is our architectural firm, so this is a separate part of our master agreement. So because this is for a specific time frame and engagement, it's in addition to our master agreement, we take this contract into it.
And the prayer was dated April 9, 98.
Probably when it started.
It started in
I'd
98.
say probably when it started.
I think they're out
Oh, there's
of
a-
Archon,
Okay,
I
I see it.
believe,
So they're from.
out of DuPage County, but I'm not, what's at the bottom? Lombard, I was right.
That's our address.
And then for Autism Partnership, the name implies that it's only for students with autism around the spectrum, but it extends to any student with significant disabilities and needs. It's a methodology that's very specific, research-based. Our consultant is training all teachers of students who are in specialized, highly significant programs so the students can be more engaged in their learning. We are building our own capacity by working with our instructional coaches in an effort to pay the consultant next year, but we very much need to proceed with this method. We worked on it all last year, made great strides, but need to continue the effort.
And so the long-term goal with these consultants, because there's a number of consultants here, for all appear to be for special ed purposes.
Well, the ABA is specifically for special education. Stetson and Associates emphasizes inclusive practices where special education teachers and general education teachers are team teaching diverse learners in a classroom, including students who are special education, but all other types of learners as well. So the advantage is the team teaching. And Enrich Educational Consulting is focused on differentiation of instruction, which meets diverse learning needs in a classroom and is beneficial for all students.
And do you foresee continuing to have significant numbers of consultants, or are we going to be starting to build this capacity within the district?
Well, we worked with Autism Partnership and Stetson and Associates both for 1 year right now. We have put into place next year instructional coaches. The consultants will be focused on training the coaches in the methods. So I believe we will be close to having built our own capacity and not needing consultants in those areas. That's our goal. Differentiation of instruction is kind of, we worked on it in the district in the past, but teachers now in general are asking for support and guidance, so I'm unsure, since this is our first year, how long we may be engaged with a consultant in this area.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just one question. These consultants are from California?
Yeah,
That's right.
that's correct.
What is the possibility of trying to work with or partnership or hiring consultants or any contractors with the state of Illinois or possibly locally within the main township area?
Yes, and I thought that question may arise, so I'm pleased to answer that. I have searched the local area for this type of applied behavioral analysis that is less clinical in nature and is very flexible to classroom and schools, and I have not found it. Also locally, we focus on a method called TEACH, And although Teach is research-based and shows and will show gains for students, it's not as intensive or does not raise the bar as significantly as this approach to applied behavioral analysis, because it's more focused on accommodating students versus actually teaching them what they need to know. So I have not found this method locally. Plus, this consultant trains a classroom system approach where all the teaching assistants and related services personnel are working together. And in the area, we have clinics in ABA, but again, they know less about how to work in schools and classroom and within classroom systems. And I've worked with Autism Partnership for many years, and I have seen firsthand over and over the differences that they do make, and we are seeing significant differences within the first year. So they're very reputable. In fact,
So all
internationally
the
recognized.
trip, the expenses, we are
Right.
responsible to pay for that too, right?
Additionally, yes, we're paying for it with grants. Additionally, the method is expected for students with autism and often for those with other types of disabilities. So it makes, not only are we doing what's right for students, it puts us in a position where we can defend, what we do instructionally with our students.
So based on your recommendation, in the state of Illinois, we do not really have a company or reputable consultant who could able to provide such services at this time.
Not to this degree. This group is internationally recognized. They work around the world. I feel very fortunate to have them in our district, and I have not found, as I stated, a consultant that understands classroom systems in schools. They may understand a clinic, but not a classroom.
But definitely we need to consider looking to any business opportunity within the state of Illinois or possibly within Green
Right.
Township area.
The Chicago School of Psychology is starting to move in this direction, and some of the work that we've done with Autism Partnership is, I guess, being brought in to that school.
Well, just one comment. Long term, I want to make sure the board understands, and we've made it very clear, our intent is to build capacity within our district. We don't want to bring consultants in every year. For some specialized programs, sometimes it's important to begin that, but that's why we've got instructional coaches, and so the objective is to build capacity within our coaches so that all of these specialized aspects that we're working on, we've got capacity within our district long term to be able to provide service.
And our consultants want that too. It's an adoption type of program where they want to build our capacity, and then so we can sustain ourselves.
Any other questions, comments? If not, you can call the roll, please.
Lee,
Aye.
Bowen. Aye. Heller. Childers.
Aye.
Sullivan. McGrath.
Aye. Item 11, intergovernmental agreement with non-special education district 807. Can we have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
All, Childers, Mary Jo, and Sean. Pam?
Okay, I understand, I wasn't here in July because I was on vacation, but I understand that we needed to represent this contract without some student names that were in the contract before. And so it's the same with the exception of some names that are included.
Yeah, and how many students does this in?
Yeah, how many students in the specific services?
There are 6 students.
And the types of services?
And the types of services vary according to their needs. I'm sorry, I would need to get that information.
Low incidence though?
But yes, it's more, I thought you meant for me to be more specific.
No, just,
It is students who are significant, and have multiple disabilities.
This has been a long-standing intergovernmental.
Okay, so what is the total cost of this? The 66,000 does not seem much.
This is just the TAs, yeah.
Oh,
Last
okay.
month, we acted on the tuition cost for the
Okay.
students.
So retention of the
66,000. Can't be right.
Yeah.
Can we sign up for a 5-year
Got
contract?
your antennas up.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, Ginny?
Heller,
Yes.
Sullivan, Owen, Lee, Childers, McGrath.
Aye. Item 12, calendar items.
One correction, and I think it's correct in your board version, your book version, but the opening institute day should say August 23rd. That's the Friday, and several of you have gotten back to me to let me know your availability for coming at the opening day, which is here at South at 8 a.m.
Any other calendar items that we, meetings that were scheduled earlier this evening?
This stuff's not gonna be in closed
Policy.
session.
Policy.
What time
Six
are you
PM
around
Thursday
tomorrow?
policy meeting, any other?
You're around
At
tomorrow?
August 19th.
Okay.
August 8th is finance.
And what's the best number to reach you at?
August 8th at 5:30 is finance.
5:3.
Okay.
And August 19th at 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Anything else to add to the calendar?
You got policy?
My policy,
Yeah,
I
she's got it.
said the policy is the 12th at 6 PM. All right, anything else? Okay. Other items? Any communication, public comments? Do I have a motion to go into closed session for review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters?
Sullivan.
All right, thanks.
Lee, Owen, Sullivan, Childers, Heller, McGrath.
Aye. We are in closed session.